Let's get one thing out of the way up front. This episode isn't about aliens, lizard people, or decoding clues from the back of the Declaration of Independence. Though honestly, that would probably make more sense than what's actually happening. We're talking about the shadow government, the deep state, the idea that the people we think are running the show are really just the faces on the brochure, smiling, waving, kissing babies, while someone else writes the script behind the curtain. It's not a new theory. It's not even a particularly creative one, but it is persistent. And depending on who you ask, it's either the only rational explanation for why the world feels like a rigged game, or it's just a lazy excuse for refusing to accept that sometimes people in power are exactly as incompetent as they seem. Now, this whole idea didn't just drop out of the sky one day. It's been around in different forms for centuries. Monarchies had their royal advisors, secret courts, and whisper networks. America, we've got the Freemasons, the Illuminati, and a weird obsession with blaming everything on skull and bones. But the modern flavor of the shadow government, the kind people post about at 3 a.m. in all caps, really took off after World War II. Think Cold War paranoia, CIA mind games, and the government doing a bunch of, we never said that, things behind the scenes. You don't have to believe in anything wild to understand how this story took hold. Because when you see presidents come and go, but the wars, surveillance programs, and alphabet soup agencies keep humming along like they never got the memo, it's hard not to feel like someone else is in charge. So today we're cracking open that paranoia. Not to laugh at it, and not to validate every guy who's ever said, do your research, before linking a 6-hour YouTube video, but try hard and understand why the idea of a shadow government refuses to go away, and what it says about our trust in, or total lack of faith in, the system. Buckle up. Or don't. You're not the one driving anyway. Let's start where things split. On one side, you've got the real deep state, not some secret cult in hooded robes, just career government workers, military brass, intelligence officials, the folks who don't pack up when the president changes. They're not lurking in the shadows, they're filing reports, running operations, and quietly making sure the country doesn't fall into a sinkhole, while the elected officials argue about silly things like gas stoves and the woke agenda. All of that is a distraction, by the way. And honestly, that part's not a conspiracy. It's structure. It's how a government doesn't collapse after every 4 years just because someone new shows up with a slogan and a fresh haircut. Then there's the other side, the fake deep state. This is where things get weird. The idea that there's a secret group controlling everything. They supposedly meet in undisclosed locations, control the media, eat babies, whatever's trending in the conspiracy world that week. And sure, it sounds unhinged, because it is unhinged, but the reason it sticks is because it gives chaos a plot. The real deep state is too boring to feel real. People would rather believe in puppet masters than face the slow, grinding reality of bureaucracy, corruption, and unchecked power that's hiding in plain sight. So in this part, we're walking through both, the real machine that keeps running no matter who's in office, and the fantasy version built for the internet rabbit holes and late-night paranoia. One is backed by decades of quiet influence. The other is fan fiction with better lighting. Let's talk about the kind of power that doesn't need campaign ads or baby-kissing photo ops. The kind that doesn't care who's in office because it never has to leave. We're not in lizard territory here. This is real. It's money, influence, and the kind of connections that never show up on a ballot. Start with the military-industrial complex. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a term a U.S. president actually warned us about before he left office. Defense contractors, private intelligence firms, consultants with secret clearance, and zero accountability. They're all running a parallel system that plays by its own rules. You've got the data barons, the tech companies that collect, sell, and analyze your every move like they're trying to compete a human Pokédex. They know your bedtime, your Amazon regrets, and what kind of ad will keep you scrolling. Some of these companies now work hand in hand with governments, and a lot of the time, You can't tell who's pulling the strings anymore because they're pulling them together. This isn't about secret rooms or ancient orders. It's about power that's baked into the system. Power you didn't elect. Power that's just there. Silent, profitable, permanent. This is the part of the shadow government that doesn't need shadows. It's out in the open. We just got too used to looking past it. Okay, now here's where we start to name names. Not in a courtroom kind of way, more like a greatest hit list for conspiracy theorists. The usual suspects pop up fast. The Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, rich people with private meetings and vague agendas. Are they secretly running the world, or just really into expensive conferences and awkward group photos? Depending on who you ask, these are the architects of global control. Behind every war, market crash, and pop star's sudden fame, someone's pointing at a shadowy figure pulling the strings from a high-rise somewhere. Some theories go old school. Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Vatican connections. Others get weird. Beyoncé, the Queen, Oprah. It's like Mad Libs for people who don't trust anyone with a private jet. The internet didn't help. In the pre-Wi-Fi era, you needed a pamphlet, a friend with a ham radio, and a strong tolerance for cigarette smoke to hear this stuff. Now it's just all there. TikTok threads, podcasts, YouTube documentaries with dramatic music and zero sources. Add a little algorithmic encouragement and suddenly you're 3 clicks away from thinking a weather balloon is a surveillance blimp funded by George Soros and Tom Hanks. But here's the twist. Most of these theories have the same structure. A small group of elites hoarding power, rigging systems, and keeping the rest of us distracted, which, on paper, kind of sounds like reality. That's the trick. There's always just enough truth to make the leap into fiction feel like a step, not a jump. This is where the shadow government turns into a character. A faceless villain people can project onto anything. Doesn't matter if it's the economy, the news, or your Wi-Fi going out. There's always someone to blame. Just don't expect to find receipts. All right, here's where we stop, take a breath, and ask the question that's been quietly sitting in the back of your mind this whole time. Is there actually a shadow government? Like a real one? A secret cabal calling the shots while the rest of us argue about gas prices, egg prices, and who broke the economy this time? Well, sort of. There's absolutely power operating behind the scenes. Corporations influence policy. Intelligence agencies act without much oversight. Billionaires fund think tanks. Lobbyists write legislation. And currently unelected billionaires are in D.C. keeping the machine running regardless of who technically is in charge. That's not a theory. That's a regular Wednesday. But does all of that mean there are hidden groups of elites meeting in secret to decide everything? Probably not. The truth is usually messier. Less James Bond, more Office Space. Less secret society, more interconnected systems so bloated and unaccountable they feel like a conspiracy, when really they're just the byproduct of a broken system that benefits the people already on top. And that's what makes the shadow government idea so sticky. It gives chaos a villain. It makes power feel like it has a face, even if that face is wearing a cloak and whispering in Latin. It's comforting, in a weird way, because if someone is in control, even secretly, then at least someone is steering the ship. The scarier reality? No one is. Or worse, everyone thinks they are. So, is it real? Not in the way most people think. But that doesn't make it harmless, because when people stop trusting everything, they'll start believing anything. And if we're not careful, the real danger won't come from the shadows. It'll come from what we do in the dark when we're too tired to care who's holding the flashlight. Thanks for listening to 10-Minute Mystery. Brief and bingeable stories that make you question everything without needing a corkboard and red string. I'm Joe, the host, and whether you think the world is run by billionaires, bureaucrats, or a group chat we're not cool enough to be in, I appreciate you hanging out right here in the weird with me. If this episode gave you something to think about, go ahead and hit follow now so that you don't miss what's next. There are more mysteries where this came from, and they don't all involve lizard people or aliens. But no promises. You can check out past episodes of 10 Minute Mystery, or if you're in a darker mood, go binge my other podcast, 10 Minute Murder. All of it is at 10minutemurder.com or wherever you're listening right now. Thanks for listening. See ya.